Hi everybody, and welcome to the studio. Today I'm going to be looking at the Throne of Eldraine expansion to Magic the Gathering. Now, I was supposed to do this the day that the game launched on Magic the Gathering Arena, but I had about every possible tech problem I could have. I had problems recording on the PC, I had problems recording on the phone. I think I got them all sorted out now, but instead of opening the 50 pack booster like I said I was going to do, I only got about 25 packs left. And I'm a couple days late to catch the YouTube trends. But I'm still probably the only artist who is looking at these cards. So I'm looking at these cards from a pure artistic point of view. I'm not going to talk about the game mechanics much. I just learned how to play the game a couple months ago, and it's such a deep and wonderful game, but I'm not an expert on it. So I'm just going to be talking about the art that I see. And I'm really excited to open up these packs because I've been waiting to be able to share it with you guys, and I want to do it. So let's open up the first one. All right. And I should let you guys know that this expansion is loosely based off of Grimm Fairy Tales and King Arthur things. So that's where we're coming at. So anybody can enjoy this. So we got Runaway Together. That one's based off of, I think, Beauty and the Beast. And it's pretty good. The expression on the Beast guy is kind of like, and she seems like super, super happy to take him out. I like the contrasting expression. The proportions are really good. I think the background maybe is a little bit on the weak side, but there's really nice highlight, especially on him. So that one's pretty good. Next, we got Bartered Cow. That's based off of the cow in Jack and the Beanstalk. I like this one. I mean, the cow is like golden. It's shining. You know, it's really important here. And you see the boy getting ripped off in the marketplace by this guy, and he's a bit dark too. There are lots of little details and stuff in the costuming. The hands look pretty okay. There's good detail in giving him the money. I think possibly maybe like this back area here inside the merchant's tent could be darker, because that would make the cow seem a little bit more brighter. And this one makes a food token. The food token art for this is pretty good. I really always, when I see this one, I look at the tusk of the boar and how it's sort of splintered off and sort of, it's just creative. It's not a basic boar tusk. There's lots of detail in this food, texture in the table. It's really nicely well done. You got two little people in the background there looking at this food like Wendigos or something. I'm just noticing that the first time. Those guys are creepy. That's pretty good. I like that. Crashing Drawbridge. Now, like I said, I already looked at some of these before on my mistake. The bridge is too short to reach the other side, and there's not much going on in the background. I remember thinking like I didn't like this one too much. Next one. Tempting Witch. Now, here's a good example of using color. Now, if you look at this piece, the most vibrant part is the apple. And everything else is pretty much just gray tones or a little bit of a kind of a drab green in the background with some light. This is a really good way to draw your eye towards something, and it draws your eye immediately towards the apple. Other things that you see is, next thing you see is the hand holding it. And then all these little baby hands coming out of her neck. She's a warlock, so some kind of a witch, but man, that's kind of creepy detail to have the babies in there. And, the lights in the trees in the background. I like strange lights, so I really like this one. It's really well done. And it makes a food token. You got these curly bananas. They remind me a little bit about curly fries. This one's okay, but it's not as good as this food token. But it's pretty good. Next, we got this Hengewalker guy. He's supposed to be a big golem kind of character. And my eye is immediately drawn towards this really nice green. Now, throughout these pieces, I'm going to call them pieces because they are works of art. I mean, they're cards, but they're pieces too. I noticed that they use a lot of these nice Renaissance colors. This is like a specific kind of green that was used a lot in Renaissance art. And it really draws your eye towards the golem. I think the proportions of this golem are pretty good, except for this hand here. It's definitely too small. If you ever look at your hands are just about as big as your face. And I think that this one is too small, especially for a creature like a golem. Like for comic book characters or something, you want to sometimes exaggerate features, like The Thing, Marvel's The Thing, and the Hulk. Their hands are way bigger than they should be because it shows strength. I think that's a bit of a weak point on this one, but I do like the green that they used. Next is this Spectre's Shriek. You have the Spectre in the background shrieking. You see sound waves. And the expression on this guy's face is really, like, he's definitely in pain because of it. He's grimacing quite a bit strongly. Maybe, I mean, there's a line here. This line here in your face. I think he could definitely do that. Because even if I open my mouth a little bit, that line is much more pronounced than this. I think they probably could have took this a bit further. But the details on his costume, his gold medals, they're really nice. Fireborn Knight. Yeah, this is great. You got the White Knight riding into this thicket of thorns. Sort of the story between this expansion pack is there's like the wilds where the non-humans live, and then there's the, civilization where the humans are, and he's a White Knight charging into evil. I like how it gets darker, closer that you get to the evil spot, the details in the trees and stuff. I always look for details in the background, and how bright the horse is and how bright his sword is, and you can follow his trail all the way into the background. So your eye starts with the white horse and into the sword, and then you sort of follow into the background, and I think that's a great one. And let's check out the rare card. Rare card. Got lucky. This is actually the card that you get on when you open up the 50 card expansion that this is from. Legendary Planeswalker. It's reportedly to be the best card in the entire series. I mean, that remains to be seen, but big strong guy. He's got big arms, good proportioned hands, big strong hands. They fit his costume and everything. The detail is definitely drawn towards the axe. It's the darkest point next to the lightest point here in the background. And you can see lots of detail in his costume, the fur. When you use him, you spawn some wolves. The wolf card is really good too. Actually, the detail on this thorn coming in the background is really nice. And the fact that there's a guy being menaced by this wolf. And I like the rim lighting on the wolf as well. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, I like the token wolf creatures art a little bit better than the Planeswalker. But that being said, like this is a very well done proportion for a strong character, big strong guy, and he makes his wolves. Next up. Ginger Brood. This one is based off of You Can't Catch Me on the Gingerbread Man. He's really flat looking. I like how they got that with that hard edge. I like the creativity with the icing on his mouth. I mean, a little bit. It looks a little bit like something else. Yeah, I guess this is like an example of like, you do. Yeah, they'll remember you for your mistakes. That looks like that Ginger Brute was in the house, gave the guy BJ, and then ran out. And I hate to say that because this is supposed to be an art channel. Yeah, okay, moving on. I don't want to talk about that one anymore. Trapped in a Tower. This is Rapunzel. Beautiful red hair, as it should be. Very nice, background, nice sky. Maybe some more details back there would be nice. Her costuming is very nice, Into the Wind. Her face is very good, very Renaissance kind of looking face. Is something I've noticed in a lot of this stuff. I guess I'd like her expression to be a bit more sad. I mean, she is supposedly trapped in a tower. Um, but overall, very beautiful. Again, a beautiful choice in color. I do like this blue. Maybe a bit more vibrant, maybe? Not sure. And one of my favorite ones in the set called Bake It Into a Pie. I don't know. That's how I just imagine it's going to say. Like, I want to play this game. It's like, I'm going to bake you into a pie. And what you basically got here is you got some character baking somebody or something into a pie. And I like this one because, like, the pie becomes his prison. He's holding on to the jail bars. I mean, he's clearly dead inside there. And I'm going to guess, like, completely dismembered because you're not going to fit a whole body into this pie. But there's lots of details. You see her, I guess she's putting him into the oven. I thought she was taking him out, but it looks like she might be taking him out. But this is the oven here, where my cursor is, and this is outside. I think she's taking him out of the oven at this point. But there's lots of details. The little jars and stuff in the window is very, very, very nice. You got some red lighting on top of the bricks that shows you the warmth of the oven. And you get another food token here. This one, the pie in the food token, it looks like it's sad. You have a sad face. Even looks like it's bleeding a little bit from the edge. But I mean, real pies do that. If they're cooked improperly or sealed improperly, you'll get some red in there. The rest of the food and the food token looks appetizing. Fell the pheasant. Pheasants are birds. I don't like this tree in the background. It looks not really well done. It kind of looks like somebody just did it in Photoshop. They made the outline of the tree and then they just applied a gradient to it as opposed to actual texture. The legs on the white horse look a bit short, I think, in the foreground, and the other horses. He has a nice cloud. The pheasant's not even really all that prominent in the picture. In fact, the white horse is the more prominent thing rather than the pheasant. Loftwine gargoyle. Yeah, the gargoyle looks good. I like the architecture of these buildings in the background. Very medieval looking. There's really cool details in the gargoyle. The wings and everything look really nice. Looks like he's wearing a cloak and a crown. And reaching out, maybe coming to life. Color scheme's a bit drab, possibly on purpose, but I don't know. Maybe if some things were brightened up, but this part was darker, maybe. Sage of the Falls. We got a guy in the waterfall here. I like the texture on the tree and the flower here. Merfolk wizard, so he's supposed to be some kind of like a mermaid kind of guy. He's got a bit of a cape. The rushing water looks really nice. Moist and strong, yeah, it's good. Grum Gully, the generous. He's got some. The expression on his face is you don't trust this guy. Really good detail in the hands, like characterized hands. Most people struggle to draw hands. But these hands actually have some character to them, which shows the person knows what they're doing. Loose skin, wrinkled. I mean, the guy's smiling, but it's so disingenuous, you know not to trust him. Really good characterization. I like the redness in the beard, too. Like, it helps you. It's not just plain green. I like it. And it kind of ties into the red-green mana that you use for this card. It's really good. Let's check out the rare. And the Wicked Wolf. I don't like this one. I know I don't like it. There's a good contrast. Like, you got some deep black here with these trees, and you got some very close to white. I just don't like the way they stylized the wolf's hair rising up. I mean, it's supposed to be like the way the hair on the back of a dog's, neck rises when it's angry, but it just comes off as like hokey kind of thing. There's another wolf in this pack. I hope we find it, which is stylized in a much more effective way. I hope we get to see that one. But remember this one, I guess, and why I don't like it. I do like the fur is a little bit shiny here in the background. It makes them kind of look greasy, which is good for a bad wolf. Next up, Silver Flame Squire. He's good. I mean, good lighting, good stuff. There's not much going on in the background. He's in proportion. He's got his hands and stuff. Maybe a little bit weak on the costuming. Maybe a few little things. But I guess he's a squire. He's not supposed to have much. Maybe, again, like, to make that flame brighter, make the background a bit darker, but also add some details into that background. Like, this is supposed to be going on in the woods or the wilderness, right? Just put a big black thorn bush behind him and make that flame, pop, and it'll look great. So tiny. This one's fantastic. This is like our first kind of fairy one in here. Now, we'll see other fairy ones, I'm sure, but she is a fairy. And in most of the art that we've seen, these fairies are about maybe the size of my fist or smaller. And she's holding this guy in a jar, which means he's got to be like getting close to microscopic. So it fits the name, so tiny. I like the way she's smiling at him because it's sort of usually the other way around. The human is carrying the fairy in the jar. The glass looks really realistic. The guy looks trapped, like he wants to get out. Yeah, really good. The wings are really pretty. You have a big light source. There's lots of light going on. I love this one because it has a beautiful sense of scale. Because we know how small these fairies are, and he is so tiny. I think that's great. Gingerbread cabin, so from Hansel and Gretel. Yeah, I mean, you got a gingerbread cabin out in the woods. There's some good contrast here. Again, you got white against dark. That's what they should be doing over here with the flame. And the house is made of sweets. It doesn't come off nearly as well because I think they're quite small. And I think on my display is actually bigger than the actual cards. So I have a little bit better resolution to see these things. But the food token looks fantastic. I like this one. The croissant and the cookies, they all look super delicious. There's the wolf's paw in the upper corner. So this is like Little Red Riding Hood, right? The basket's got its texture. It's on the ground. You see I guess that's a red hood. Something took a bite out of this Pop-Tart, for lack of a better name for whatever that thing is. In this case, I like the food token better than the actual card. Mantle of the Tides. I guess okay proportions. The hands are a bit wonky. I think this, her left hand looks a bit like a claw and a bit small. But we're underwater. There's good lighting and things like that. I like the strokes that are used into it's not like cape. I'm not overly sure what it's supposed to be. Some sort of clothing. Maybe it's like some wreckage or something from a ship. But I do like the brush strokes in whatever it is. I just kind of wish it was a little bit more clear. And I think the motion of the water is a little bit inconsistent. If they're in a tide or something like that, I mean, you do expect things to be swirling around, but you expect them to be sort of going in a somewhat consistent way. Everything should be going this way and then hooking back to some degree. But yeah, it's fine. Forever Young, this is pretty good. You got these old hands. This is actually not a bad idea. You got these old hands looking into the wishing well, and they're seeing themselves as a younger person. I really like the idea of it. You can even see the gray hair of the person drooping down into it. In case it wasn't obvious from like the wrinkled hands that this person is old. And they're rich, and so like they have the ability to do this. Now this is something we might see. This is an uncommon wild card. This is because I've opened up some packages. And I've gotten enough of whatever card this was supposed to be, so let's not worry about that. Drown in the Loch. It's okay. It's okay. There is good contrast in here, but you gotta look for it. It's in the shadows in the guy's hand. He looks outright terrified. I think that's fantastic expression. He's getting pulled under by some kind of, I guess, a merfolk, a mermaid, or something like that. And in this case, a lack of contrast actually is working because you can't see the mermaid very well, right, until you're looking for them. And I think that's sort of what this guy's experiencing. He didn't see the mermaid either until he got pulled in. And then Pharaoh Elder. This one's good. Creative monster design. Dark stuff here. Dark pointy things. Glowing eyes. The hands seem good. Actually, I kind of like what's going on with his arm. Whereas, like, it takes a turn for the irregular. And shows creativity. Maybe just a little bit of life or something growing on him, like a flower or something, would be kind of just a little bit nice contrast, but good. All right, next one. Knight of the Keep. I was looking at this one. I think this guy's face, when you're drawing faces, they really have to be precise. This guy's face is just leaning a little bit too much to his right without actively looking like it. It's like his face is head on, like his head is head on, but his face is turned to the side, but it's on a face that's like this. It's a bit strange, and for being the main focal point, it's a bit of a loss. This one's good. We have our two guys, they're having a drink before they meet certain death, and I think that's pretty appropriate. It's good. I like it. And I like this creature too. It kind of looks a bit like a demonic bat. Really good. Maybe, again, some dark, but not bad. Insatiable appetite. Again, here's another good example of, like, sense of scale. This guy is huge. Clearly, he's eating these people out of house and home. And, you know, you get a really good sense of how big he is because he's bigger than these buildings. He's bigger than these people. But I'm not really sure what he's eating. Maybe those are supposed to be pumpkins, but maybe they're apples, and I that kind of gets a little bit into, it gets a little bit in the way of what it is. The Garenbrig Carver, this is a guy who is, he's a carver, he's looking at some blueprints, he's well proportioned, there's good lighting here, light and dark. I think they're trying to make the blueprints be a bit of a focal point here too. And they're quite bright. I think that's fine. Maybe they could have went a little bit more vibrant into the green, into the blueprints, but that's good. Keeper of Fables. It's a lion statue with some things growing out of it. Good lighting. In this case, I like how the background's done because it's the light is not only sort of washing out the background, which is kind of an easy way of getting out of doing a whole background, but it's also silhouetting the lion. To make him look more regal than he is, and his good posture. He's very upright. If you want somebody to look very prim and proper, just get them to straighten up their posture a little bit. Sage of the Falls, we've seen this one already. Witch's Vengeance. It's good. The things I like about this one in the background is, like, again, contrast. I'm a huge fan of contrast. These lights are quite light. The background's quite dark. And they're all kind of looking down, kind of upset. But I can't see their faces very well. So, you know, I think something sad is going on here. They're all trying to cover their ears or their eyes. But maybe to see their faces and see how they're feeling. Just maybe a little bit more close-up view would be good. Next one. Garenberg Squire, another Squire. This one has really good foreshortening. You have this big heavy hammer right in the foreground being wielded by this, you know, relatively skinny, not strong Squire down in some kind of a mine. There's enough information I can tell where we are. The hammer has lots of good detail. It's pretty good. Festive Funeral. You got people dancing. There's a funeral going on. The coffin is pretty well. I mean, you're seeing these two people. This one's really good storytelling and art. I think these two people, whoever they are, killed whoever that is. You can sort of see it by the way they're walking down, they're leading things, and they're just so smug. Maybe the guy in there was her husband or something, and these people are all dancing. It's really good storytelling, and the coffin shows up really well because it's gold against the black pallbearers. It's really nice. Fairy guide mother, basically fairy godmother. Um, Good. She looks ghostly. What I like about this one is I like the take on the fairy character. This one has very different wings than the other fairies in the set. They're sort of moth-like. Um, they make her look more mysterious, moonlighty kind of thing. You get the moonlight beams on her as well. It's pretty good. Maybe a bit more again going on in the background, but it's quite nice. Opt. I guess the thing is choose one or two things, choosing between a book, choosing between a sword. I think that's really cool philosophically. You also have an eye on the back of this guy's head, so he's obviously some kind of a mage. I think it's just a little bit too obvious what they're trying to get you to think, but I think the details in the book are quite nice. There's obviously very good light. This is quite a bright light source, which is really impressive, because it's really difficult to make something look particularly bright. Barrel witches. This one's really good example again of like using color. Your eye immediately goes to this purple because it's the most vibrant thing, and then it goes to this plant, which is the second most vibrant thing. And these things are being contained well within dark, so they do stand out a lot better. Also, all the vibrance is maintained to the foreground, the three actual witches, and the background, which is also really well detailed, but it's less vibrant, it's more subdued. You can see the detail in it, so obviously they worked on it, but the illusion of color here puts your focus squarely on the foreground, which is what they want you to look at. Arcanus Owl. It's a nice owl, very nice soft brush strokes, which is sort of nice for like a white card. The background is very well done for what it is. Now remember, like the further you go from something, the less you're going to see of it. And this owl is clearly flying high enough in the sky that you can see the curvature of the earth. It's pretty good. The face of the owl is detailed and quite nice to look at. The feathers are very, very nice, and it looks somewhat metallic, which is interesting because it's an artifact creature. Artifacts are supposed to be man-made things. And Thunderous Snapper, it's a Hydra, that's a snapping turtle. Very creative idea, not much going on in the background stuff. I mean, this guy looks afraid of it, and he should be. And just this head growing out of the neck, like a tumor, is kind of frightening. Maybe just a touch more highlight on the spikes, maybe make them look a little bit sharper or something, but I like the idea more so than the art, but I think the art is obviously like very truthful to snapping turtles. And then Hushbringer. This is a fairy card. Nice. I like the detailed mouth. It looks like somebody's whispering into your mouth, like, hey. These mouths going around here are super cheesy, though. Everything except this halo of mouths is good. They should have just did this like flowers or something. But other than that, like if I can ignore this and sort of mentally replace it with something else, I'd really like this card. The lips and everything are very, very beautiful. The idea is very beautiful. The colors, reduced palette, limited palette is very, very nice. Giant Skewer makes a food token. The fire in this one is very well done. Fire is kind of hard to draw or paint accurately because it's always moving, right? It looks really good here, and the cool thing about this one is you don't see it until it's too late. The background actually is the giant, right? There's his beard. His mouth is above my cursor, and that's his big shoulder here. which is good because it's like they don't want you to see that right away. This guy, we've seen him. Thrill of Possibility. That's interesting. You got like this character climbing up the spiky thorns, which are obviously very prominent, to reach, I'm guessing, like this magic potion. Draw 2 cards, so it could be something really good. The potion is the light source, and you're getting really strong highlight off of it onto the nearby thorns, which makes the thorns look sharper. It's great. Merchant of the Veil. Background's good. I mean, everything here's good. There's lots of details into the guy's cart. He doesn't look very trustworthy or anything. It's okay, nothing special. I mean, they're all good. When I say nothing special, I mean nothing special compared to these cards. The art is always really good. But compared to what we've seen, it's nothing too big. Seen it once and future, so once and future king, kind of King Arthur thing, I think. You got this little boy standing next to a bunch of henges, and you have, I guess, a vision of him in his future. He's not just a little boy anymore. He's a strong warrior. He doesn't just have a little white dog anymore. He has a big horse. It's super soft, which is good because it's supposed to be a vision, sort of in the clouds. Yeah, I like this one. I kind of especially like the hotness that they've managed to work into the clouds to make them warmer. And makes it like a brighter day because it's a brighter future for him. It's very good. And Harmonious Archon. It's a stag Pegasus of immense proportion. Here's good scale again. Look how big this guy actually is. And you can tell how big he is because, look, these are people down here. There's so much detail onto this Pride Rock shape. It's green, it's vibrant. The lighting of everything is really good. The creatures, he doesn't just have antlers. He has hyper antlers. And where he is so bright and vibrant and alive. And the only part that's sort of dark is below him, sort of away. So he's like a hopeful character. And he makes a human token that looks like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. It's okay. Nothing to write home to on that one. Wishful Merfolk. This is Ariel. She wants to be a human. That's what the card does. And it's pretty good. I mean, here she is. Beautiful proportion. Very beautiful figure. Somewhat reminiscent of Ariel's exaggerated figure in Little Mermaid. Which is, by the way, Disney's Little Mermaid textbook on, female figure and how to make it look nice. Yeah, it's really good. There's some definite hopefulness going on here. It's brighter where she's a human, darker where she's a merfolk. Looks really good. I kind of wish maybe the hair color was just a bit closer to Ariel's red, a little bit strengthening that nod, but it's good. Reeve's Soul. What's going on here? The background's really nice. Trees are really good. Definitely creepy. It's a black card. Should be creepy. Destroy target creature with 3 power or less. And it just looks like it looks like they're holding some kind of a gem here, and it's pulling the soul out of their face, and I suppose killing them in the process. Almost like they've been tricked. It's pretty good storytelling. I like the colors. I like the darkness and the lightness in the background. Jousting dummy. It's okay. I like the detail in the dummy, but I think the background, I sometimes worry that these kind of backgrounds, it's just like copy and paste with Photoshop. It's okay. Raging Redcap. Yeah, he's definitely raging. I mean, you can see all the blood coming up out of these swords that he's got. Double strike. 1, 2. Good storytelling in the card. Background's pretty good. You do have like some light hitting these stones. Blood Haze Wolverine. Creature. Surprised it's not a green creature. It's a red creature. It's okay. I mean, you are drawn towards the mouth. The teeth are quite bright. The proportions of the animal look fine. Other than like the smoky red coming from his eye, I don't get a sense he's really enraged. Witch's Oven. That's one I like. There's detail in the background. I like the stonework, the cobble work. There's a secondary light source somewhere, light coming through the window that lands onto the oven. So it's not just all one dead color. And you got the glowing green, which is really reminiscent of witches. You also have like additional details like pegs on the wall in this pot. It's quite detailed for something so simple. And it makes that food token. And the Bognaughty. Good proportion. I think there's something strange going on here with the limbs. It's a fairy, but the proportions are more childlike. This person is 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 heads tall, like, but the proportions don't suggest like they're a child because these limbs are quite thick. There's more muscular development than you would expect on a child. So they look somewhat dwarfish. I think the proportions are a bit off, but I mean, you got this wicked smile for something called a Bognaughty and these glowing orange lights, and I like glowing orange lights. Dark stuff in the background. The willows are dipping low, and you have this like smoky kind of fog color. It's nice. I'm not sure if the proportions are intentional or not. Garen Britt Paladin. This one's a bit busy. It's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on, especially without very much contrast. I mean, all the stuff looks well drawn on it. I think he's riding a warthog. Giant knight, so I guess he's riding something. He must be riding a warthog. It's just a bit too busy. Here's another good one for like really good, like Renaissance looking art kind of thing. Costuming is very, very good. The horse is very well detailed. The background is fun to look at. And there's a nice light source. Obviously they're looking for somebody or something in these dark woods, and maybe they shouldn't be there. It's quite nice. This guy again. Brimstone Trebuchet. It's okay. I mean, it's kind of looming above everybody like a tower. But it's okay. Good sense of scale on this, I think, if I want to say much more. Seen it? Order of Midnight. This is a human knight riding what is clearly a giant raven. The color of this raven is very, very nice. It's quite inky black, which is very good. I love ravens. Beautiful, smart birds. The detail's really nice. He has something to hold on to with the raven. I guess it's getting dark. That's why it's a darker purple sky, and he has a light to lead the way. So it's good. Order of Midnight's also quite nice. It's very evocative of the raven. This guy, Red Cap Melee, I guess the red caps are these little guys, and they're just grabbing him. The expression on his face is intense. He's reaching out towards whatever it is he's reaching towards. Yeah, he has the portion of his hand is pretty good. I mean, if I were reaching out for something, I'd reach out like that. His hand is just a bit more like this, which feels uncomfortable, but it's pretty good. And the rare, the Gilded Goose. So this is the goose that lays golden eggs. The gold effect is really, really nice. It definitely looks golden. It looks golden and metallic, but almost like unbelievable that this thing could move. There's got to be a way to make that look golden without making it look like it can't move. It looks a bit statuesque. But they did the best they could, I mean, which is far better than I could do. It's clearly in motion, it's in the air, so it's not like it's just a statue hovering in the air. And the golden eggs are there. The details in the background are very nice. I can see very small distant trees far away, medium distance trees, and the ones that are up close with lots of details in these root systems, beautiful ferns down here, and even a few flowers. It's really good. I just don't know how you would do that. All right, Treebeard here, but obviously like a creative new twist on the Ent kind of thing. This one has a bit of a centaur kind of shape to it, but with more arms and legs. Looks like 4 legs and 4 arms. They're very detailed. There's beautiful light streaming through the top of the trees. I mean, he's obviously a guardian of the trees in some way. And there's beautiful bright lights from his magic, and that's with the beautiful light from outside. And there's deep dark around him that shows, he loves the beautiful things, but he's not all that bad. But he's not all that good. You don't want to make him angry. He's definitely strong and scary. Unexplained vision. We have the red and the blue character. Very symmetrical card or piece. And symmetry is always quite nice. There's good lighting and good contrast here with the light source, and then the gate silhouetting things, and you're drawn toward this deer, which ties in really into the name of the card, like unexplained vision. Why is this deer important? Saw it. This one's pretty good. You have your knight riding a eagle into battle. It's very focused just onto the character, silhouetted by the sun. Possibly could have made him maybe a little bit darker, make it pop a little bit more, but I'm not sure how. The feathers are very nice. Repeat cards. Tournament grounds. That's kind of dark. And tournament grounds, you have these guys racing into the volcano like it's some sort of organized sport. The sense of scale is huge. These guys are tiny. This building that supposedly feeds off of, this thing that they're doing is quite big. So this has been going on a lot for them to make their money. The volcano's erupting. It's pretty good. Sundering Stroke, and you got this guy chopping a serpentine dragon all to pieces. With one stroke, this big circle here coming from this character, maybe even she. The architecture of the castle is very nice. The trees in the background are there. But the serpentine creature is very, very dark, but you get really good highlight on one side of it. And actually the posture, that's two. Both of these serpentine dragons were about to strike. And in one stroke, she took off both of their heads. And possibly a third one. Yeah, this is really good. Yeah, the more you look at this one, the more it brings you into it. It's very, very nice. repeat mythic rare or something from that. Embereth Paladin. You have a guy riding a dragon or some creature into battle. He's got a sword, very detailed costume, very detailed armor for the dragon. Lots of details. The teeth, lots of details in the nose, the eyes. The smugness of this guy's expression. He's clearly just had a major victory. This is a very nice card for the art. Scorching Dragonfire. I like the fire effect, especially like in this guy's helmet. It's getting so hot that it's glowing like brighter, and you can see where the hole in the helmet was. But outside of that, I mean, I appreciate the dark and drabness of everything around, but the posture of the dragon's neck is like this. And like, if I were a dragon, like if I were going to breathe fire, I'd be like this. I wouldn't be like holding my head to the side. It's a bit strange. Tall as a beanstalk. And you definitely have this being foreshortened to show that he is very, very big. And transitioning into a beanstalk. The details of that are quite nice. There's obviously not going to be too much going on in the background in this case because we are looking up at the sky, and that's fine. And it looks like the beanstalk parts of him are plunging into the earth pretty strongly. And his expression is very hard to see. I mean, it's quite foreshortened, so you wouldn't expect it to be very big, but I'd like to see what's going on. And this one's really good. It's got the symmetry kind of thing going on too, and really good contrast. And like with this one, like it's being framed, but the frame is like the shape of a storybook. In fact, it's probably the same shape as like what this is. This is called an adventure. That's the new feature of this series of games. And so she's going into the story, like physically walking into the story, which is really just seems like the barrier between her and I guess this library she's at. And she's going into it. Yeah, that's really good. I don't think a lot of people would notice that's a storybook shape from the beginning. Ocam adversary, elf warrior. You got a guy, tribal stuff on him. Pretty strong looking kind of guy. I think the foreshortening is going a bit wonky. I know his back arm is supposed to look small, but he's not positioned in such a way that it would be that small. It looks a bit like some kind of a deformity. But what is nice is he's on this leaf. I think it's a leaf. And there are details on that leaf, but I think the foreshortening's gone a little bit wrong here. Yeah, a little bit more arm, either a little bit more arm in the back or a lot more arm in the front. Stolen by the Fae. So this is a chance to see how big those fairies were I was talking about. Like this one in the foreground, but the one behind you can see is quite small. The only one where it's a little bit strange is this one over here. She looks to be about 3 feet tall, but all the other cards, they sort of suggest that these fairies are small enough to fit into a jar. So it's a bit weird, the proportions there, but the detailing in his costume are very, very nice. The clothes of the fairies, they're a little bit less, but they should be. They're more natural beings, I guess. The glowing light effects are very nice, especially on this one here, and I knocked the proportion on it, but it makes up for it with the fact that you got the bright white of that wing next to the dark of the sky, and it's fantastic contrast. And here's a little bit of creativity. The fairy token is this guy, and he has looks like a sewing needle of some sort for a sword, and a button. It's not a button. I know what this thing is for. I don't know what it's called, but I've seen it in sewing kits. He's using it for a shield. So he's rated a sewing kit for armor and stuff. I mean, his pose is a bit stiff, whereas these ones look much more fluid and more natural. So this is a bit of a knock, and I don't like the background on that one too much. But this one's really nice. Lots of glowing things in the background. I like glowing things. And they're definitely like stealing him away with their magic, and they're quite happy about it. And I like the details in his costume. It's very, very nice. I think I like the fairies in this set the most. They are the ones that really seem to captivate my imagination. Fairy Godmother, seen her. Tomb Raider. The name of the card is like a take on Tomb Raider. Very nice expression on her. Very nice figure and proportion. You got her wings sort of going any which way, which means, that she's pulling off some kind of a fantastic aerial maneuver. I think, and it looks like she's going into a. This is a good scale. You really have to think with some of these fairy ones. It looks like she's going into some guy's pocket or some guy's like purse, which is fantastic. And she's carrying something. And there's a cat there, so like you can see how the cat is like this, which really again shows she's doing some sort of an aerial maneuver. And I guess maybe she's carrying a piece of parchment. That's why it's called Tomb Raider. She's stolen a tome. The only thing I think they probably could have done is to make the Tomb Raider joke a little bit more, maybe a little more top heavy. That's what I would do. Rosethorn Acolyte, Elf Druid. She's clearly, reviving these thorns. I suppose the thorns were all roses, which is actually kind of interesting when you think about it, because every time we've seen these thorns, they've been really dark and drab. Maybe something's going bad in the forest, because they used to just be rose bushes. Maybe the humans are doing something bad to the wilds or something. But again, this is a great example of using vibrance to draw your eye to something. The only really vibrant parts of this piece are the red, and by the way, red is one of the best colors to draw your eye towards something. Red and yellow, I think. That's why McDonald's uses it. So your eye is being drawn to this new life, these roses, and from the hands that make it, and a little bit of green in the costuming. It's a lot of detail too, lots of vines going everywhere, on top of really nice old, worn down architecture. So sort of like nature reclaiming kind of ideas going on here. It's very nice. Rosethorn Halberd. It's okay. The weapon's imaginative. I don't think the weapon would be functional, but it's a good fantasy weapon. Not much going on in the background here. Redcap Raiders. We got 4 of these guys. One guy's really dark and in the foreground, which is nice, which sort of helps draw your eye towards the other ones. The expressions are really good and varied. He's sort of like, yeah, I'm going to get you, guy. This one's like, yeah, let's get him. This guy's blowing his thing and he's pretty happy. And this one's smiling too. The background is really, again, detailed and imaginative. It's put at a slant, which gives the idea that these guys are going forward to their attack, which is good. And turn into a pumpkin, which, wow, looks immensely painful. I think this is sort of showing the stages of turning into a pumpkin. I've seen somebody else talk about this card. I think it's not three different guys. I think this is one guy going through the stages of turning into a pumpkin. So what happens first is, you know, he's holding his neck, like, ow, what's this kind of pain in my neck? And then you see, like, the pumpkin starts bulging out of his neck and out of his legs and through his armor, and man, that looks like it must hurt. Like, to have your face being like pushed and stretched and swollen like that, and then just, you know, you fall into a pile of heap of pumpkins. Also, the name "Turn into a Pumpkin" reminds me of, like, bake into a pie, and now you're going to turn into a pumpkin. I'm definitely gonna have to use some of these cards, just for the fun. Oakham Ranger, it's a guy riding a fox. It's okay. I like the background. And I guess I already got this card before, so we'll do a few more. Maybe this will have to be a two-part video. Steel Gaze Griffin. That thing's really big. You can see how it's holding onto the top of the building. You can see how big that building actually is because there's another one over here. And it doesn't look like a copy and paste, which is nice. He's got some sort of a metal or something around his neck. And he's like an owl griffin, which is interesting too. The armor on his head is somewhat samurai inspired. It actually reminds me a bit of Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's pretty good. I think the owls are beautiful. They're pretty. The wings are nice. Detail in the building, like you can see, like what it's made of. Wildwood Tracker, so another guy with a fox. More detail on this fox, I think, the armor and whatnot. I think they're doing okay for contrast. You got a light smoky background, and this guy here. Blow Your House Down, that's a Three Little Pigs reference. This one I'm not a huge fan of, simply because, like, this house is really hard to see at first. The wolf is obviously quite prominent, but the house is really kind of hard to see, and I don't think that there's much of a connection between the wolf blowing the house down and the house being blown down. But it's okay. There's a bit too much going on too, but I mean, I suppose it's supposed to be like a hurricane, so I suppose that's excusable. Ogre Knight, it's good. There's not a whole lot to see here, I guess, for the character, but yeah, it's a bit bland. It's a bit bland, I think. I mean, there is some nice kind of contrast stuff. I hate to only sound like I'm saying negative things. These are all really good. But, I mean, just compared to some of them, it's a bit on the weaker side. Idyllic Grange? Nice plains. The sky is very beautiful, swirly, nice, vibrant green. You can see a nice house in the detail, and a nice house in the background, and you can see the trail that this girl is on. Actually, that's a really good sense of distance, because here she is in the foreground. She's quite big because she's close to us. She's in fact bigger than that building, but you can see all the way that she actually traveled on this road from that village, and she's going away from it. Embereth Shieldbreaker. We have a character, we have a camera facing upwards like this, so very powerful. And it looks like they have a hammer in their hands, and they're going to break a shield. but I'm not really seeing the shield. Unless this is the shield in their hand and they're breaking it with this stick, but that looks kind of strange. I would imagine that if they're going to break a shield or something. I mean, that might just be her name. But a very strong, triumphant pose, good details and things. This glowing sword here is a bit strange in that it does command a bit of attention. Maybe your eye does go here afterwards, but I don't know if that's where you want the eye to be. If they're over somebody, I'd almost want, like, instead of this guy here with his hand raised up, I'd almost want like a hand coming up like, please don't hit me anymore. And I'm going to do 2 more cards, and then that'll be the end of part 1. Here's the rare. Realm, Cloaked Giant. So this is a giant. Really cool. It almost looks like he controls the weather a little bit because it's bright, beautiful weather in front of him and dark weather behind him. Oh, no. Ooh, look at that. Wow. His cloak actually is a field. Like, there's a house, there's a windmill there. And that's a great. That's almost like he's been like a sleeping giant, cloaked giant. Wow, so like the ground was his cloak. So he was like laying or sleeping in the ground. And then one day he got up. Just imagine you lived in any of these buildings right here, and like the ground just got up and started walking away because you happened to build your house on some giant's clothes. He is huge. Now just imagine how much bigger he is than the fairies, and then how much bigger he is than the little guy in the So Tiny card that the fairies caught. Wow. And last one, Edgewall Innkeeper. If anybody knows any place like this place, I want to go there and I want to have a drink. Because this guy is exactly what you're looking for when you go into a pub. This guy just wants you to be welcomed and warm and have food. He's got 2 drinks ready for you. There are other people there. He's smiling. Like, this guy only does his job, and his job is comfort, and it's great. You know, the mural in the background shows the story of like a dragon and but everything comes through in the characterization of this particular man. He's you know, he's happy, he's warm, you know, he's fat in like a good way. That sounds awful, but you know, like he knows his drink, he knows his food, and he wants to share it with you and make you happy. And like, you know, everything. He's even got like the towel on his arm for you. If anybody knows anywhere in the world that is like this, please let me know and I will go there. All right. We are halfway through opening 25 cards. We will be back for part 2 as soon as we can. And thank you for enjoying the Throne of Eldraine booster pack opening with me. If you can, I never do this in my videos, but if you can, because I think this is supposed to get new people to watch the channel, check out a few of the other art videos, and if you like what we're doing, press the subscribe button. Don't do it just because of this one. Do it because you like the other stuff too, okay? Because this is mostly an art channel. All right. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys later. Bye.